It is really, really, really windy today. So if you can hear that, I'm really sorry. I cannot control the weather, so there's not a lot I can do about it. Anyway, today we have a super easy lesson. I'm just going to show you a few techniques that will help you clean up your lessons and make them look nice and professional. So let's get right into it. Okay, so we have here a completely blank slide with nothing on it. As I mentioned in our very first video, one of the easiest things that you can do to really spice up your lessons is add a background. I like to take extra time to make sure that my background matches whatever theme the lesson has. If I'm teaching about animals, my background will all be about animals. If my lesson is about verbs, the background will have people doing yoga or jumping or those kinds of things. But you don't have to do that. You can make a very professional looking lesson just using the built-in templates that come with Google, which, by the way, if you are not happy with the presets that are available, because there's really not that many, you can download tons of templates. Seriously though, if you just look up Google slide templates, you're gonna find a ton. This website here is called Slide Carnival. You can find them by color if you want a specific color. You can go through if you want something simple, you want something elegant, something playful, if you got young children. So if you do not want to spend a lot of time, or if you aren't an artsy fartsy kind of person, then you don't have to. You don't have to put any thought into it whatsoever. You can just come to Slide Carnival and find a template that you like and then edit it as much as you want to. Okay, since I have already shown you how to add a background, I'm not going to go over that part again. And we've also talked about how I like to put a big white squircle in the center of the screen for my lesson to go on. This is just my style, so that's what we're going to go off of. First, let's start with just basic pictures. So we all know it's super easy to just go to Google, find a picture, copy, paste it, right? But you can edit it in a lot of ways. You probably already know how to crop the image, but did you know that you could mask it? If you look right here, this little arrow button next to the crop icon, you can pick a shape and you can use this to make a lot of different things. See? Like so, right? I just made this into a circle. And you can use any shape that you want to. You can make it a squircle. That looks pretty nice. You can even make it a smiley face. It's a little bit weird, but you know, you can do it. You can even do this just to make really pretty looking arrows. If you wanted to make an arrow for something, but you wanted it to be above average, you can add a picture to it and use a picture for your arrow instead. The shapes that I use most often are the squircle and the regular circle. But you can use any shape that you want to, and you can use this to really make some cool looking lessons. Here is an example where I used the masking tool to make a little dialogue for role playing with an adult student. So this is from one of my adult courses, and this unit is about going to a restaurant. So for this lesson, we are practicing ordering food at a restaurant. I play as the waiter and the student will play as the father that's trying to order food. All I did for this was Google waiter and then I cropped his picture into a circle. I also use this masking tool to make my vocabulary words. So most of the time I leave the vocabulary like this, where I have a picture explaining the vocabulary on one side and then I have a definition on the other side. But if I have a whole bunch of vocabulary words, or if I'm just wanting to add a little variety, I will also include slides like this that have two vocabulary words using a shape like this. So all I did here was take a picture, I masked it into the shape that I want, then I added a border, changed the border weight, and then this right here is just a shape. It's just a long squircle. So I can do that here. I can come up here, make a shape. I can make it as long as I want to. I can make it whatever color I want to. And I can add a border. And then if I wanted this to be my picture, all I have to do is change the shape. Give it the same color as the border. Make this border bigger so that it stands out and it looks like this is kind of coming off of it. Now, because I added this second, it's in front, so all I'm going to do is send it backward. And there we go. That's exactly how I do my vocabulary most of the time. It just looks a lot more neat, a lot more fun, and a lot more modern. A lot of the PowerPoints that I've seen online that are available, even on like Teachers Pay Teachers, meaning that they're not free, you have to pay money for them. A lot of them look like they were made in the 90s. I'm a 90s baby, so there's nothing wrong with the 90s, but it's 2022. And our students are not from the 90s. They're not familiar with that generation. So it's time to update our PowerPoints. Throw away the projectors. Upgrade your Google Slides. Another thing that you can do is add word art, which is a little bit different from a regular text box. So for example, let's just type in, I don't know, unicorn. You can see that this has got a border around it. You cannot put a border around regular text. So then I can change the font if I want to. I can change the border color, change the border weight. I can make it bold, make it italic. All of the normal editing works here. I can even change the type of border that's around it. If I wanted, like if you see this dash here, if you wanted to make a word for like a young child to trace, maybe you just wanted to have, let's change it. Let's just say you wanted to have letter A, like this. And you just made a tracing tool for your students. So it's super easy to do, really fun and cute, and there's a lot that you can do with it. Now, I need to point out here that this is not the same as a text box. If you grab the corner of a text box, it is going to change everything in the same proportion. This is not the case for word art. Word art is considered a picture. So if you grab this corner and you try to change it, you're gonna blow it out of proportion and make it look weird. Instead, you need to hold the shift key. If you hold the shift key, then you cannot change the proportions. It will always be exactly what you need it to be. Oh, and we can also change the font here. Let's make it look more normal. Now that you have seen most of the different techniques that I use with my Google Slides, I'm going to showcase a couple of lessons just to kind of give you some ideas for how to streamline yours. So this is from my toddler classes. Each of my toddler lessons has a story that centers around my little emoji character here. I promise I'm going to show you how to make these cartoons, but they are deserving of their own lesson. So just going to kind of showcase what I do here. But I use the shape tool to make call outs, which are these little bubbles, the speech bubbles. I use the animation tool to fade them in and out as needed. And then look, if you look up here, there's a whole monkey. But I've moved the monkey up so that only his tail is showing on the slide. Up here, I've got audio. Monkey falls on her head. And then I have my vocabulary. Now, of course, my vocabulary for the toddler lessons is much, much simpler than for the regular lessons. Some of the students can read, some of them cannot. I just have them repeat after me instead. We'll talk about the picture. But every single one of my lessons, whether it's for a toddler or an adult, has these things. Whether you call them GIFs or GIFs, I'm not here to judge. They are super, super useful. Most of them are really funny. Some of them are really good at demonstrating things that are kind of hard to explain with words, especially to someone who is learning English. And they're awesome sentence building tools. Every one of my lessons has got them. From the beginner unit and forward, they have at max 6. The toddler lessons tend to have more than that because they can't really read yet. We have some more vocabulary words here, and they're given a chance to talk about it. So the toddler lessons are pretty simple. They're easy to make. And I will show you how to make those pictures. Then at the end, we have been learning about letter O and letter P. So this is just to review. And these little pictures here, this is just the word art. And then I shrunk it and hid them around the picture, right? So you can use all of these tools in so many different ways. One mistake that I see some teachers do is they put too many things on the slide at once, and it becomes really chaotic looking and very messy. You don't want your slide to be messy. Sometimes people get a little bit too excited with the colors, and they'll have like every other line will be a different color, or they'll highlight too many words. If you highlight 2/3 of the paragraph, you are defeating the purpose of highlighting anything. Try to keep your highlights down to 1 or 2 key words that you want to point out in the sentence. So for example, when I do vocabulary words, I will highlight every time that word is used in the paragraph. I always put it in red so that their students are used to it. They know what to look for. Everything else is in regular font. It's not been bolded, it's not been colored, or anything like that. You don't want to have too much going on in the screen at the same time. So with my primary lessons, every single one starts off the same way. They all have the vocabulary at the very beginning. Then we'll have 3 gifts that are about the vocabulary. We'll talk about them for a minute. Then I introduce whatever grammar for that unit they're learning. So in this unit, they're learning the helping verb can. And then this right here is really cool, and it uses everything that you've learned. Let's take a look at it. So it says, can she spin the hula hoop? This is just a text box. And this is a GIF with a mask around it. And that mask has a border with the color changed and the weight increased. You can do this with GIFs too. It's not just for pictures. Once the student gets the answer correct, or if the student is having a hard time coming up with the sentence, I will display the answer like this. Then the next one fades in. There's 2 things on one slide. Can the bear spin the hula hoop? Yes, it can. Same thing, super easy, and it looks very clean, very professional. Same thing with this one. What can the dolphins do? They can flip. Can this kitten flip? No, it cannot. After we are finished with grammar, we will move on to phonics. In this unit, they're learning the long U. So they'll read these words to make the circus performers appear, like so. Easy peasy. This one's fun. We're going to give a dog a bath. So first, we need to call for the dog. Dog goes in the bath. Now we need some soap for the dog, like this. And we need to rinse the dog off, like so. And now we need to give it a towel. And now it's all clean. So super easy and super fun. Then they'll usually have some kind of short story to read using whatever the phonics was. I always include math in my lessons, and math is usually the last thing that we do. The reason I put math at the end is because some students don't want math. Some students, like their English will be advanced, so maybe they're a toddler, but they're in my beginner course because their English is just so good, and then they haven't learned this math in their regular schools yet. Because my goal is not to teach them math. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not teaching them math. I'm teaching them English for the math so that they can read math problems in English. I like to study foreign languages. I study Japanese, Korean, and Chinese. And one thing that is literally never ever included in textbooks is math. I do not know how to read 2 + 2 = 4 in Japanese. I know the numbers, but I don't know how to say plus, and I don't know how to say equals, because that's just not something that's ever in textbooks. And if these students really want to become completely fluent, if they want to get jobs in businesses where math is going to be involved, they need to know these words also. So that's why I include them. But I'm not here to teach them math. That's not what I'm doing. So if they've not learned this math yet in their regular math class at school, then I will skip over it. And this is why I put it at the end, because it's really easy to just jump ahead, because I know exactly where it's at. So anyway, in this one, she's learning about number lines, how to use the word before, how to add and subtract negative numbers using the number line, like so. And then at the end of the lesson, I have 3 more GIFs, followed by a free talk slide. I do recommend having a free talk slide at the very end of your lesson, just in case you don't manage your time very well and you have like 5 minutes left of class. You don't want the goodbye slide to pop up when you've still got 5 minutes of class. So the free talk slide is a great way to save yourself the awkwardness of accidentally ending the lesson too soon. Hey guys, I just wanted to quickly showcase a couple of different lessons just to give you a bunch of different ideas for ways that you can organize and stylize your elements on your screen. So you should always include an introduction slide. I just kind of wanted to show you a couple of examples here before we finish up this video. So here's one here, another one here. This just uses the masking tool. It has a background. I make the color match. This one is also using the masking tool, and it's on top of a picture. Okay, so there's a bunch of different things that you can do, a bunch of different ways that you can organize and make your lessons your own. So just get creative with it, have fun. I also want to walk you through one of the lessons from my speaking course because they are set up differently than my regular lessons. So this is from the speaking course. Got like a story here with some dialogue. It has like a little background here, and to make this background, all I did is I took a picture that I liked, I put it in the shape that I liked, then I got another shape, made it the exact same size, and put a color on it, and then I changed the opacity of it to make it a little bit transparent, so it made it kind of pink. Then I put my circles on top and my little speech bubbles. I'll have the student see if they remember what was said. And I'll ask the student how old you are. This is actually a drag and drop. So I would exit presentation mode and I can actually drag the numbers to the cake for how old they are. Who's in your family? Where are you from? What do you speak? What kind of job does your parents have? What do you do? What grade are you in? What are some hobbies that you have? What's your favorite animal? What's your favorite food? What's your favorite color? What's your favorite subject? They fill in the introduction here. Hello, my name is Tim. I am from, what flag is this? And we talk about it. Same thing with this one. Then I have a recipe for an introduction. And so the student will practice this and then try it yourself, and they'll see if they can introduce themselves from memory. Then I always have a goodbye slide. So my speaking classes are very different from the rest of the classes. They always have a warm-up where I can see what they already know. And then I'll see what kind of vocabulary they're already familiar with. Sometimes the words are new, sometimes they're not. But this just uses everything that I have taught you. And whenever I want to emphasize a specific area, I always put it on top of a shape, right? So I got this over here with the shape. Using another shape here to make a speech bubble with a picture. This one has like some jingles and some slogans. It's got a video in it. On this one here, you can rotate pictures as well as put a border on them, so you can make them kind of catty-cornered, put them in front of each other, just to make something that looks really fun and interesting. This is another advertisement where we talk about like why the placement and the size is important, and we use this to explain why. Why did you read this in a specific order? What caused you to read this part first? Why did you read this part second? Why did you read this one last? Why is the placement and the size important? So this one is more for advanced students. We talk about color psychology, advertising techniques, rule of thirds, golden ratio. There's another commercial here. One last slide to talk about, and then that is the end of it. So just have fun with it. Combine everything I've taught you in different ways and make it your own. Don't copy, don't just copy what I'm doing, but try to make it your own. Really adjust it to your personality and your teaching style. So that's pretty much it for today's lesson. Next time, I'm going to show you how to make a teacher banner that looks like this. Now, I am using Minicam, but this should also work on other camera softwares that you have. I usually enter the classroom anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes before the beginning of class. And I will display this on my screen so that the student knows that I'm there. And also, because it's very fun and colorful and it's moving, a lot of the times they'll take a minute to read it. And then they're encouraged to leave a review. I have lots of students that have been taking lots of classes and they don't ever leave reviews. So since I started doing this, my review rate has increased. In my opinion, these banners are a way better way to increase the rate that students leave reviews because it's much less annoying than sending them a message begging for one. But it's still a good way to be like, hey, give me 5 stars. And believe it or not, they're super easy to make. So I'll see you next time. Bye.